Good morning, students. Today we are starting with Unit 8 Biology in Human Welfare. We know that biology is the youngest of the formalized disciplines of natural sciences, and physics and chemistry, they have proceeded much more faster than in biology, and the applications of physics and chemistry in our daily life has also have higher visibility than those of biology. But in the 20th century and in the 21st century, that has demonstrated the utility of biological knowledge in furthering human welfare, whether it is the health sector or in agriculture. The discovery of antibiotics, synthetic plants derived from anesthetics, they have changed the medical practices. Life expectancy of human beings have changed over the years. Agricultural practices, food processing, diagnostics, they have brought socio-cultural changes in human communities. So they are briefly described in this Unit 8 Biology in Human Welfare. Now in the syllabus of 2020, we have Chapter 8 and Chapter 10 only in Unit 8. Chapter 9 is being deleted for this year only. So we'll be starting with Chapter 8 and we'll be continuing with Chapter 10 in this Unit 8, that is Biology in the Human Welfare. Now we can give a reference of M.S. Swaminathan. He was born in August 1925 in Tamil Nadu, and he has graduation and post-graduation in botany from Madras University, and he worked in different capacities in larger number of institutions in India and abroad, and developed his expertise in genetics and plant breeding. So we are starting with Chapter 8 today, that is Human Health and Diseases. Now health for a long time is considered as a state of body and mind where there was a balance of certain humors. So it was called as humors at that time, and in the early Greeks like Hippocrates, and in the Indian Ayurveda system also, the medicine is generally asserted. Now it was thought that persons with black bile, they belong to hot personalities and they will have fevers, and this idea was a purely reflective thought. And the discovery of blood circulation by William Harvey through the experimental methods have demonstrated that normal body temperature in persons with black bile using thermometer disapproved this good humor theory or hypothesis of health. Later on, biology stated that mind influences, it is your mental health that influences through your neural system and your endocrine system, our immune system, and that our immune system actually maintains our health. So thus mind and mental state that can affect our health. So health is affected by genetic disorders, that is deficiency which a child is born, and deficiencies or defects which the child inherits from parents from birth. Then is infections, and third is about the lifestyles, including food and water we take, rest, exercise we give to our bodies, habits that we have or lack. So health depends on these three main factors. Now the term health is very frequently used by everybody. Now how do we define health? Health doesn't simply mean the absence of disease or physical fitness. It could be defined as a state of complete physical, mental and social well-being of a person. When people are healthy, they are more efficient at work, they increase productivity, brings economic prosperity. Health also increases longevity of the people and reduces infant and maternal mortality. Balanced diet, personal hygiene, regular exercise, they are very important in maintaining good health. Yoga has been practiced since times immemorial to achieve physical and mental health. Awareness about diseases and their effect on different body functions, vaccinations, immunization against infectious diseases, proper disposal of waste, control of vectors, and maintenance of hygienic food, water resources, they all are necessary for maintaining good health. Now, when the functioning of one or more organs or systems of the body is adversely affected, then it is characterized by various signs and symptoms, and we say that we are not healthy. That is, we have a disease. So disease which are easily transmitted, so disease can be broadly classified into two types, that is infectious and non-infectious diseases. You are already familiar with these terms. Now, disease which are easily transmitted from one person to another, they are called as infectious disease. And infectious disease are very common, and every one of us suffers from these at some time or the other. And some of the infectious diseases like AIDS, they are fatal. And among non-infectious diseases, cancer is the major cause of death. Drug and alcohol abuse also affect our health adversely. Now, common diseases in humans, there are a wide range of microorganisms that belongs to the category of bacteria, viruses, fungi, protozoans, helminths. They can cause diseases in humans, and such disease causing organisms, they are called as pathogens. Most parasites are therefore pathogens, as they can also cause harm to the body by living in or on them. And the pathogens, they can enter our body by various means. So by various means they can enter our body, and they multiply and they interfere with the normal vital activities, resulting in morphological and functional damage. So pathogens, they adapt to the life within the environment of the host. Now, for example, pathogens that enter the gut, most known a way of surviving in the stomach at low pH and resisting the various digestive enzymes. A few members from different groups of pathogenic organisms are discussed here. We'll be studying about preventive and control measures against these diseases in general. So this chapter is all about all these microorganisms and the disease they are causing and how we can prevent such diseases. First, we'll talk about Salmonella typhi. It's a pathogenic bacterium which causes typhoid fever. Typhoid is basically a fever in the human beings. Now, these pathogens, they enter the small intestine through food and water, through contaminated food and water they enter the body, and they migrate to other organs through the blood. Now, this is the genetical and clinical manifestation of the Salmonella. So here you can see the structure of Salmonella typhi. Now, what happens? Symptoms. Now, a person sustained very high fever, 39 to 40 degrees Celsius, weakness, stomach pain, constipation, headache, and loss of appetite are the common symptoms of this disease. Intestinal perforations and death may occur in severe cases. Now, typhoid fever can be confirmed by Vidal test. Vidal test is actually, the main principle of Vidal test is it's a homologous antibodies present in the patient's serum, and it will react with the antigen in the reagent and gives visible clumping to the test on the test card and agglutination in the tube. So the antigens used in the test are H and O antigens of Salmonella typhi and H antigen of S. So a classic case in medicine that the Mary Mallon, nicknamed Typhoid Mary, is worth mentioning here. She was a cook by profession and was a typhoid carrier who continued to spread typhoid for several years through the food she prepared. So this is how Salmonella typhi or typhoid fever is generally affecting the human beings. Now, bacteria like Streptococcus pneumoniae or Haemophilus influenzae. Now, they are responsible for a disease called pneumonia in humans, which infect the alveoli or the air-filled sacs of the lungs. As a result of the infection, the alveoli get filled with the fluid, leading to severe problems in respiration. The symptoms of pneumonia includes fever, chills, cough, and headache. In severe cases, the lips and fingernails, they may turn gray or bluish in color, and a healthy person acquires the infection by inhaling the droplets or aerosols released by an infected person, or even the sharing glasses and utensils with an infected person. Apart from this, there are many other bacterial diseases which affect the human beings. They can be dysentery, plague, diphtheria, etc. These are some of the bacterial diseases in human beings. So today we are covering two main diseases. We have covered actually two main diseases, typhoid and pneumonia. And apart from this, in general, we have talked about health and disease. So thank you for today.